analyst this morning says IMF Executive Board endorses Ghana's economic recovery efforts. Ghana has acquired Pegasus machine and other spyware. The uncertainties of the mid-year budget review, it will happen next week. And already the president has given us a hint that 1 million jobs will be created in 3 years. And the finance minister will present the details when he appears before Parliament next Thursday. Producer price inflation for June hits 10.1%. Supreme newspaper says Ghana gas staff excited over new board. Guess who's the board chair? Kennedy Japan. Petroleum downstream players will play by the rules, NPA boss assures. And also, Dr. Bawumia distinguishes himself as the precious asset for Ghana. NPP CVM founder says so. A Newday. Daybreak editor burgled. Suspects flee with laptops, mobile phones, and car batteries. What a shame. Lebanese loaded pockets scramble to buy onions. Traders Agbogloshi land. And COP Dr. Dampari is the new IGP from the 1st of August. He's now acting. Upon Nkrumah leads journalists to donate blood to support blood bank. And yesterday happened at the Ministry of Information together with the press pool at that ministry. You could go to jail for promoting LGBTQIA plus bill. Provokes fury. That's what lawyer Moses Fo Amoening there. He is strongly against anything LGBT. DBG to plug 158 billion Ghana cedis manufacturing service financing gap, according to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Pension funds increase participation in inequities on the market. Analysts calls for cautions optimum in the short term. IMF projects our debt to hit 83% of our GDP by the close of the year 2021, and 14 million registered taxpayers, only 6 file returns, which is why lately the GRA has been writing to say we want to assist you, and we've been told it is faith money. The Business Finder, economic outlook promising. Ongoing digitization is key to post-COVID-19 recovery, according to the IMF. GCB Bank voted Financial Business of the Decade. No rules, regulations will be infringed upon, according to the NPA boss. The Ghanaian Times. I don't account for presidential travels. Ken Ofori-Atta yesterday told Parliament and directed us to go and ask the National Security Minister, the Honorable Kan Dapa, for those answers. After how many weeks? Well, President appoints Dr. Dampari as acting IGP. Death of woman. Court awards 1 million cost against the 37 military hospital. Guess who took the matter to court? A retired army officer. Pong Katamanso bans consumption of pork due to swine fever outbreak. Friday night, Daily Graphic. 37 military hospital to pay 1.75 million over patient's death. Finance Minister swerves Parliament. Bost saves $24 million in payments to BDCs. Dampari, Ejiri head police and prisons. And what's on the back page? Tunnel irrigation reconstruction ready in October. Police raise alarm over organ harvesters. And what's the final one? The Daily Guide. Dr. Felix Anya wins Millennium Excellence Award in Medicine. Nomo, congratulations to you. That's Africa's first power. And Dampari is IGP, a jury for prisons. Ghana's economic recovery underway. NDC officers want Techiman South case stopped. And government releases 316,402,165 Ghana cedis for free SHS. My guest this morning, Malik Basintali, is the communications officer for the Savannah region of the NDC. And also Dennis Miracle Sabwaji is also a former municipal chief executive for the Equiapim North Municipal Assembly. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Dennis, how's the Thursday going for you?
Come back.
Thank you. Thank you. Only 10 days.
Oh, 10 days not only.
Only 10 days, and everybody's complaining.
But good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see you, my brother. Malik, how are you doing?
Well, good. We can't complain. However, once we've survived, we'll survive too. I'm sure at the end of this 4-year period, when I'm being issued with my certificate of survival, I would remember you. And so, yes, we're in it together, hoping for the best ahead. And then, so we remain hopeful.
Who will issue the certificate of survival?
I mean, oh, sure, serious, because we are struggling together. We're able to survive.
I see.
I mean, this 8-year tenure of
Right.
the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government, I think that everyone should be issued with such certificates.
I see.
Okay.
Okay. Dennis, let me begin this conversation with you. We have a new IGP, so to speak. He will start acting from the 1st of August. What are your expectations beyond the credentials of the man? What are your expectations of Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare?
Johnny, let me say a very warm good morning to our viewers, especially my people in the Capital North, my latter people. And again, express my personal excitement with the news of COP Dampare. I think that the euphoria surrounding his appointment, the sort of cheers and welcome that he's received, the news has received across board, basically sums up the kind of personality that he is. You hardly have this kind of unanimous reception to these news. Usually you would have a divided opinion. Right. You know, I mean, if we look at the last 3 or 4 IGPs, right, we would say that this has probably been one that has been widely accepted across the divide. It tells you that COP Dampare is an exceptional police officer. For me, I think that one of the reasons for this reception is his social nature, his human relations, something I believe is very key to policing, because police is supposed to be for the society. And so if you're able to master the social aspect of your duties, then you're able to get the cooperation of the people and you'll be on top of your game. Again, looking at his technical capacity, right, this is somebody who went into the police service and started from the bottom.
It's a constable.
Exactly. And I understand he's been Director General for all the departments.
Yeah.
He's basically been through all the units,
right,
all the various fields within the police service for almost about 35 years of his life, and he's risen from the bottom to the top. That, for me, is a key indicator of what this technical capacity is. In terms of his intellect, I understand even when he was passing out as a recruit, he was adjudged the best in every single award that was given.
Right. At the recruit level, he mixed that of marksmanship. Yes. But at the officer level, he cleared everything.
He cleared almost everything,
including police excellence subjects and academic excellence.
Almost
subjects.
Everything. So it tells you that he's an all-rounder, a fantastic man. He's been part of the reforms in the last 35 years, and this is somebody that I believe everybody should cooperate with so he can deliver. The challenge, however, for him is that once these things happen, then the expectations of you are really, really high.
That's right.
So if you have both minority, majority, even in Parliament applauding the appointment as an excellent one, it tells you that everybody is expecting of you some, high level of excellence and delivery, and that's where the pressure starts to mount. I know that when the community police visibility unit was first set up, he was actually the first commander of that unit.
That's right.
For me, I want to see more visibility of the police. I believe that where we've gotten to, one of the ways to resolve our situation, security situation in our communities is visibility. When this police visibility started earlier on, where he was the commander, you could drive just about a kilometer or even less and you see two policemen. Yeah. At some point, some of them even had shelters and stuff that they sit under. Some of them had even these unmarked motorcycles that they use, and it helped a lot. I am expecting that COP Dampare would bring back the visibility, reactivate it, rejuvenate it, and then make it key in his activities. I encountered him when I was the municipal chief executive. Okay. And for me, I'll tell you that the personal encounter I had with him tells me that he's a practical police officer. He came in at that time as a commissioner of police. leading a team. You know, we had this chieftaincy crisis in the municipality, you know, earlier on, somewhere in 2017, 2018. Right. And he led a team there. And I can tell you that with the period that he spent there, he did not have to coerce anybody to listen and cooperate with him, purely based on his skill. He knew who to talk to, how to say it, when to say it, and how to approach it. And he resolved the situation for me within a matter of hours. And that is where, for me, I
you see, Dennis,
had the
they are
admiration for
all
him.
like that. I mean, look at all of them. Paul Tariakwe, Santia Pietu, Boenu, Al Hassan, Yohonu. You look at all of them, and it gives you an indication that they were fantastic when they were acting under others. Then you give them the job, and everybody start asking questions. Is that the same man we saw, we applauded, and we asked that he should be given the job? Do you trust that this will be a horse of a different color?
I choose to be optimistic. I choose to be optimistic. And again, I'll also indicate that I think each of these officers that you've mentioned, one way or the other, did one or two things to progress the service. The challenges within the service are enormous. There are a lot of them. There are several facets of the challenges within the Ghana Police Service. And for me, I doubt if any IGP within a period of 3-4 years, as these ones had, would be able to resolve all the issues. What for me is key is that COP Dampare should identify the very basic things that we need to stabilize our communities and deal with them. And then he can look at the bigger. He should go for the low-hanging fruit. We have cultural issues in the police service. We have technical challenges. We have logistical challenges. We even have police-community relationship issues that are values and culture. Some people even resent the police based on experiences that they've had with them and all of. So these are challenges that the police service, you know, is engulfed with. Some can be solved within the short term. Others can be dealt with within the medium term, and others will be dealt with in the long term. What is key is that he would let us know what the short-term plans are, the medium-term plans, and the long-term plans, and then focus on tackling each of them based on specific strategies and help us resolve it. But I choose to be very optimistic when it comes to COP Dampare.
Mali, what would be your expectation in terms of the legacy you would want Dr. George Akuffo Dampare to leave behind? I mean, now we are talking about community policing, and you would like to pay homage to IGP Al Hassan and Paul Tariakwe for that one, for example. What would you want to see as his legacy?
Well, good morning to our viewers. Good morning to you, Johnny, my brother. First of all, yesterday there were entirely 3 new appointments made by President Akufo-Addo.
Right.
I mean, one, I would say a promotion for wrongdoing, and 2 others, and our security agencies. I took some time out to read the, facts or things to know about COP Dampare.
Okay, so hold on. So there were 3 appointments.
Absolutely.
There was the IGP.
There was the IGP, the Prison Service Director General,
yes,
and the Ghana Gas
board chairman. Which one is for wrongdoing?
That of the Ghana Gas. I mean, clearly, you know, we are in a time where you media men are, ganging up and trying as much as possible to subject him, Kennedy Japan, to massive and clear scrutiny for threatening a colleague of yours. And just amidst that time, that period, the president thinks that he should reward him. And John, you remember that I've sat on this platform to narrate.
When you say reward him, I find a bit of difficulty there.
I have given you sequence in the past on this platform. Persons who had been promoted immediately after they, conducted themselves in very wrong ways. You remember I stated clearly on this platform the promotion of Mr. Daniel Epienim after instigating people, in the murder of my brother, Major Mahama. I also sat here, Colonel Ajaman, after kicking...
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel, I beg your pardon. after, I mean, kicking Caleb in the groin. I mean, you remember he was promoted to head the 64 Battalion. I have given instances of people who had been promoted for such acts. And so, a similar act that had caused the promotion of others, Kennedy Japan is promoted and made a board chairman of Ghana Gas, while this same person, a few days ago, sat on TV and said he was going to beat, instigated people like he did he did few days to the death of my good brother, Mr. Ahmed, Swali. And so I think that, you can conclude, and if you want to agree with me, you would agree with me clearly that President Akufo-Addo promotes people, for wrongdoing, and is interested in such acts. But I think it will be a topic for another day.
Is it your view that Mr. Japan is not qualified for that board chairmanship?
It's my view that the president has acted in bad faith, because at the point in time where you media personnel are calling him out and asking that he should be investigated and probably prosecuted, the president, in that same period, not even, outside it, in that same period, promotes him and awards him for some good doing. On what basis will the president promote somebody who has, caused some public uproar, and the people are calling him out and calling for his prosecution? On what basis would the president promote him amidst all these circumstances? And so clearly, you would agree with me today. I stand vindicated. The last time I told you that President Akufo-Addo supports wrongdoing and enjoys it. But I think it will be a topic for another day.
You say you read Dr. Dampare's profile.
Absolutely. I felt inspired because I have lived partially in the police barracks. And I know what it means like for a police officer to have risen from being a constable. To, it's rare. I think
it is rare.
It's very rare in that part of the world for one to
and at such a short time.
In less than 30 years. It's rare. And I think that it will inspire a lot of police officers down there. But it's a challenge to him, Mr. Dampare.
Why?
That, yes, absolutely. People are looking up to him now. And I think that junior officers would also wish to rise to that rank. I don't think that, after all these years of sacrifice, he would finally become IGP only to betray the badge, the police badge, and then Koto to his appointer, and that view. But then, critically, Mr. Dampare assumes an office that has been criticized, widely criticized in recent past.
For what?
For the uprising of criminal cases in this country and the lack of police prosecutions and fairness amongst it, against the citizenry. But Mr. Dampare, like we know in popular parlance, crime has no expiry date. First of all, I think that his first step would be to show trust, and good faith in investigating matters that up to now, up to date, are still in limbo. For example, the Asawasi killers. No prosecution has been done in that matter. The people are still there.
During the election period.
Absolutely, during the election period, Techiman Saf and what have you, the spontaneous shooting into unarmed citizens, the death of Ahmed Swali, it's still in a limbo. And one, that he is part and parcel of the murder of our MP, my brother J.B. Dankwa. Mr. Kennedy Japan clearly stated on live TV that Mr. Dampare was fully in know of the matter. And so I think that one of the first steps to vindicate himself will be to clearly investigate the matter and bring the perpetrators to book. Again, I have said continuously that in line with Article 202 of the 1992 Constitution, clearly you cannot succeed under the MPP government. And I have my reasons.
How?
The IGP, ever since the inception of President Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led government, have experienced widespread criticisms. And there's one clear reason. You remember Apietu was widely criticized. Mr. Bono, IGP Bono, COP Bono, was appointed just in 2019. He met criticisms. Mr. Dampare has been appointed. All because we have probably a visionless and clueless, police council chair.
That's not fair. That's not fair to the Vice President.
My opinion,
he doesn't work alone.
If you don't have clue,
there's a Ghana Bar Association there. There's a multiplicity of institutions there. So you cannot say that one individual is misleading the whole council. That's not fair.
There can be you there. There can be me there. Who leads the council? Who leads the council? Dr. Bawumia, per the Constitution, is the council chair of the police service. And so I know clearly that you cannot work with a council chair who probably is bringing nothing to the table, who probably is not bringing strategy to the table, who probably has decided to limit himself to IT and computerized systems of doing things, and have ignored the uprising criminal cases in this country. And so in the past, when people were calling, for the head of IGP Bono, IGP Apietu, I said they were targeting the wrong person. There's a council chair, and this is what the Constitution says. Under Article 202, Clause 2, it says the Inspector General, I beg your pardon, of the police service shall be the head of the police service and shall, subject to the provisions of this article and to the control and direction, okay, of the police council. And so Mr. Bono is a figurehead. He's being put there as Inspector General, but he's subjected to the control of the police council,
who is
headed by Dr. Bawumia.
Are you able to show me which institution in this country is not subject to control by a board, for example?
And that is why once you are subjected to the board, if you have a very competent board, you excel. If you have a very dormant and clueless board, you fail. And that is why I'm attributing it to that. That I don't see how he's going to succeed. When Dr. Bawumia is chairing the board to which he's going to work, he's subjected, to its control. There's no way Dan Parry can survive and succeed under these situations. But then, like my brother said, we give him the benefit of the doubt. Early days yet, new king, new law. New king.
He said he chooses to be optimistic.
Yes, I didn't say we are giving anybody benefit of the doubt.
However, new days yet, early days yet, new king, new law. But in matters of crime, like I said, crime has no expiry date.
So you want him to deal with the crimes?
Deal with the crimes.
Okay.
Respect the badge, respect the service, serve Ghanaians, be independently minded, and do not allow yourself to be controlled by the council chair, like I said, Dr. Bawumia. But then there's still a lot to be done in this country. Look, Johnny, to conclude on this, you would agree with me that crime is on the rise. Crime is on the rise in this country. Things we've never seen before. When I was growing up, the only time I experienced broad daylight robberies in town was in Nigerian movies. Today, people even stand and record them. Growing up, little did we know that after some years pass, several things that happened several kilometers away, several miles away, would be before our doorsteps. Today, people stand broad daylight, we find them killing, and it's not affecting only citizenry, even the police service. And so one of the things I'll urge him on to do is to remind President Akufo-Addo, since that's his appointer, to fulfill their campaign promises to the police service. An example is building a police hospital at Bolgatanga and Sunyani. That hasn't been fulfilled yet. You should remind President Akufo-Addo of those promises.
Your police hospital in Accra is not completed. You are looking at Bolgatanga.
That was their promise. And so if it's not completed, and President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia thinks that we should have one in Bolga and Sunyani, they should fulfill it. Go ahead and do it.
Why not impress upon him to get the one here in Accra completed?
I would even impress on him to get one in the Savannah region. It's good for us and good for the police service. Wherever we get it is good. And so you should remind him, bulletproof vests, computerized systems of ways of doing things.
Can he do everything in a short while? Like Dennis says, zone them into immediate, mid-term, and long-term.
Johnny, I haven't said anything that is not in President Akufo-Addo's manifesto. And I haven't said anything that Dr. Bawumia Akufo-Addo hasn't said. I'm only repeating what they promised us within 4 years. In fact, in their 2020 budget manifesto, it's entirely clueless. They have said nothing to the security services. Okay. I'm reminding them of things they promised in 2016 and urging them on to do. And so, on this note, I wish him well. I know it may lead nowhere.
Thank you.
Early days yet.
Thank you.
New law.
Well, send us your thoughts and comments. We're happy to share them with the rest of the wonderful world. And I just got some bit of clarification from the Venerable Major Ni Adelai that it is from the ranks of Lieutenant Colonel, Squadron Leader, and Lieutenant Commander in the armies that get approval from the presidency before they are endorsed. And so I said they were colonels, actually, but there's actually one rank lower. So from that rank, Lieutenant Colonels, Lieutenant Commander, and Squadron Leader that get those ones there. Then let's go to Parliament. And there's been a probe ongoing regarding the controversial Sputnik V deal, which now has come under bipartisan probe. So far, on some quarters, people are saying, look, there's been some unfair treatment that is being pushed onto the Minister for Health because he tried to also do what he thought at the time was the best for everybody else to get the vaccines so that people don't lose their lives. Is it your opinion that the minister is trying to take the fall for everybody else? Is trying to be, if you like, the last man standing?
Johnny, I think before I come to the Sputnik issue, it's it's only proper that we sometimes correct some misrepresentations, some deliberate falsehoods, especially my brother saying that he was only seeing robberies.
Just to place on record, if you take another bite, he will take another bite.
Not a problem.
Okay. I'm giving you your time.
We have, I mean...
Hold on. I'm giving you your time, then you can decide how you apportion it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay, 5 minutes.
So it's a... Please let me speak. So it's
Allow him, please.
Go on.
It's a complete, dishonesty for a young man his age to sit on TV and say
Allow
that.
him, please. Note your
I mean, because he's not that young, not so young. He's seen some years. For him to say that until 2021, he only saw robberies on Nigerian movies.
Daylight robberies,
in Nigerian movies. I mean, until recently, we used to remember how even a district chief executive was gunned down right in front of his gate. This was not in 2021. This was in 2016. I remember how people used to go to the bank and they are robbed on the streets in Tema. The highway robberies on the Kumasi highways, even the highways going to his own northern region. When was the last time we heard of some of these robberies? But in 2015, 2014, 2013, 2016, that was when we were at the peak of highway robberies going to the northern part of Ghana, Kumasi, and what have you. But of course, I mean, I don't expect much of him as an NDC person when it comes to these things. They definitely have to find some lies and some issues to throw out there. So that's quite understandable. Now, let me move on quickly to the Sputnik situation. I think the minister has been very candid with the committee and with all of us. There's no point belaboring. He's explained clearly that, listen, I heard when it comes to the procedure and the processes for procuring the vaccines or going into the contract for the vaccines. And with the benefit of hindsight, I think I'll do better. He said that. So for me, that settles it. Any other thing we say doesn't really change much because he has admitted it. Now, he went on further to explain the circumstances under which he believed, that oversight happened. And he clearly indicated that, listen, there was some competition when it comes to access to the vaccine, and that getting access to the vaccine from the manufacturers was proven to be very difficult, which we are all aware of. There was some international diplomacy around it. There were some very few countries who were, at that point, manufacturing the vaccine, and they were more concerned about, protecting their citizens and their allies first before they come to others. Remember, at some point, Russia was keeping their own space. Even the US was not exporting any vaccine at all. India said they were not giving to anybody, until their people are sorted and what have you. So it was under very difficult, circumstance. And you can imagine he being the health minister at that point with the responsibility for finding the vaccines for us, the stress that he would be under. So his point he's making is that, listen, my focus and my emphasis was on getting the vaccines. And in all the pressure and noise and trying to save lives, I may have flouted the procedure. My intention was that let me do all I can within my reach to have the vaccines, and then I'll come back to Parliament to have the procedure ratified.
And that's where the issue is. So he mentions that he went under the cover of the executive instrument that gives, if you like, him the leeway to do this emergency deal, and then he will come back to regularize with Parliament. That he did not do as an experienced member of Parliament, as a chartered accountant who understands the procedure. And one begins to wonder why he did not do that, even though he had that leeway. He could have come back to correct it quickly. Why didn't he do it?
I think why goes to the minister, which he has clearly admitted his error. For me, that, I think, settles and answers the why.
But is he alone?
Yes, he has indicated. In fact, he even said that the cabinet did not even approve of what.
That's right.
So, I mean, all the answers you are looking for this morning, the minister has answered already at the committee level, and admitted the error, and admitted the flouting of the procedure. For him, he prioritized getting access to vaccine over procedure, which Now he says that, listen, with the benefit of hindsight, I think that I could have done it, better than I did now. For me, my question is, was he able to secure some vaccines for us in the midst of the chaos? Yes, he was able to. Yes, some of our, how do they call them? Those who have underlying conditions, right. And our elderly people and some critical, functionaries like yourselves and those who are in the front lines have been vaccinated. With that, for me, I think it's something that we can look at and say, listen, let's cut the minister some slack. He may have flouted the rules, but they were under unconditional circumstances. One conditions that we had never experienced before. One that came like 100 years ago when we had the Spanish flu and all of that. And so let's pardon him on this one. Another school of
thought. Is the pardon enough? Because people are asking for his head, and others are saying pardon him because he was honest enough to apologize. Some are saying that he didn't have a choice because he was under oath and he understood the rules of perjury as somebody who has been the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee before. What should we do of the three options?
We've seen people swear oath and sit in front of committees and try to cover up and insist on things that are obvious to people. For me, the man's honesty and sincerity is critical. Number two, as to whether we should go for his head or not, I'll leave it to the employer. The employer gave him a job. You are the health minister. We have a crisis. You need to solve our crisis for us. The employer is the one to look out for what he wants to see. The Parliament's position is that you could have brought this under a certificate of agency or there are some agent procedures, in Parliament that we could use. The man says, yes, but I didn't, because my fixation was on getting vaccines, was on securing vaccines.
Okay.
And I have flouted the rules, I have flouted the procedures, and I believe that with the benefit of hindsight, I could have done better. At this point, Johnny, no matter what you say, no matter how you say it, no matter what you do, this for me is one of the most sincerest, honest, feedback we've gotten from any leader in the past 20, 24 years. And that is what I believe as a nation we should look out for. If we believe that what he has done compared to what he achieved, okay, the procedure, if we believe the procedure outweighs his achievement, then we can say go for his head. But in this circumstance, the man has saved lives.
Okay.
In this circumstance, his decision was geared towards saving lives. I've also heard some people, and I beg
quickly,
I've heard some people say that he said he wasn't thinking properly.
It's not some people. He said it.
No, let me.
I have the
headline. You can play the tape.
Mm.
The headline is an extremely misleading headline.
How so?
It is one that is extremely unfair to the man.
How so?
Let me speak. I mean, you've given me. It is one that is extremely unfair to the man because what he said was in a particular context. Now, he never said that in his execution of his function as a health minister trying to look for the vaccine for us, he wasn't thinking properly. Now, when I read the headlines, when I see it, the first thing I think is, somebody who is supposed to get us medications to cure us, if you're not thinking properly, then won't you give us water or give us some poison? But that is not what he was saying. What he said was that his fixation and his priority was on the vaccine, on getting us vaccines to save lives. So when it comes to the vaccines and the medicine that we needed, that is what he was focusing and thinking and concentrating on. However, when it comes to procedures, because of the frustration and all the stress, he wasn't really thinking around that line, and that is why he said he wasn't thinking properly on that. So he was speaking within the context of the procedures.
Okay.
And that is what the video is. You can play it for everybody to see. But the headline didn't capture it that way, which is unfair to the man.
And this is in writing headline. I don't want to take everybody to journalism school. Let's leave it, because I've seen, if you like, some bit of attempt to, from a juror up until now, to seek to heap some form of blame on the press.
But the headline was misleading. That's why the press is above criticism.
How was the headline
I cannot.
No, hold on.
I cannot criticize.
How was the headline misleading?
I am telling you that if I read the headline, as an ordinary Ghanaian, that says that I wasn't thinking properly, health minister.
Okay.
The first impression I get is that, hey, the health minister who is supposed to go and find me vaccine said that at the time he was looking for the vaccine.
So how should the headline have been written?
Let me land on that.
No. You have explained that already. How should the headline have been written?
If you want to, I was not thinking properly with regards to procedures. then because that's what he said.
Which journalism school taught you that?
Well, I don't care who journalism teaches that. But the point is that the journalism school doesn't teach you to mislead the public. The headline you gave was extremely misleading.
Okay.
It was sensational.
Okay.
Because you and I know that the context within which the man spoke was within the context of procedure,
okay,
and not within the context of finding vaccine. And I don't think the GIJ taught you that when you are doing headlines, put up headlines that would sensationalize the public. Out of context.
Let me sample headlines. I'll come to you, Malik. Let me sample headlines for you this morning. Look at the banner headline of the Daily Graphic regarding the appointment of Mr. Ejiri and Dr. Dampari. It says Dampari, Ejiri head police prisons.
Within context.
Okay. So
it is not out of context.
They didn't say in acting positions.
But it is not out of context.
Hold on.
It is not out of context.
Dampari is IGP, Ejiri for prisons.
Not out of context.
Now, COP Dampari is new IGP from 1st August.
Not out of context.
Okay. So now the politicians want to teach the journalists how to do their job.
No, you are wrong. The journalists want to teach the politicians how to do their job. You are above reproach. That is the question I'm asking you. You caught me out of context, and I do not rules.
My brother, there are rules.
The rule says that what?
When you okay, AJ, play the tape for me.
Come on.
AJ, play the tape of the minister for me.
Play the entire tape.
And let's hear the Minister for Health, saying in context, as Dennis wants us. Because you see, again, yesterday, Mr. Stephen Amwa was here trying to explain for me. And for me, I must say that the man's honesty is critical for me. The Minister for Health's honesty is critical for me. Now, Mr. Stephen Amwa mentioned the Financial Management Act, Act 921, and he goes on to reference Section 18, which talks about the suspension of rules or targets. Now, Section 18.1 says, a fiscal target or rule provided for in the fiscal strategy document may be, not shall be, note that, may be suspended with the prior written approval of Cabinet, where any of the following events occur. A natural disaster, public health epidemic, or war, as a result of which a state of emergency has been declared by the President under Article 31 of the Constitution. An unanticipated severe economic shock, including commodity and oil price shocks. B, as a result of the occurrence of an event under paragraph A, the minister is of the opinion that the implementation of any of the fiscal targets or rules would be unduly harmful to the fiscal and macroeconomic or financial stability of the country. So it goes on and on. But the baseline is that it has to be with the prior written approval of Cabinet. We're looking for the tape. Malik, step in for me. So this is what the minister has been telling us. His honesty, his explanation, and if you will, the public reaction. What do you say?
Johnny, I am extremely surprised that my brother would want to make this a very common matter. And I mean, to add on, in fact, a laughing matter, if I may say. That's a matter that has to do with the country, the taxpayer, money of more than $20 million going down the drains due to lack of due diligence. And I'm surprised that my brother would think that the health minister has been honest. The health minister has said it as it is, and so we need to applaud him for that. Come on.
Why don't you want to applaud
Charlotte Osei was fired for what the president claimed to be, a failure or some procurement breaches in whatever she was doing. People are standing trial for willfully causing financial loss to the states. People have been arrested, okay, for some perceived, marks of corruption. However it is, they've been found guilty, and they are under prosecution now.
But the circumstances are different.
I'm coming, I beg your pardon, I'll explain that. A man who had procurement breaches, who had breached procurement practices, lack of due diligence, in our own opinion, willfully causing financial loss to the state, and had engaged in a contract that had clear marks of corruption. You think that we should sit here and praise him because he has admitted?
How did you arrive at that corruption bit?
I'll explain that. First of all, I discussed on this same platform the price of this Sputnik V vaccine. Right. If you go on their portal, it is $9.9 per one on their website. The AU bought it at $9.75 because they were buying in huge quantities. The AU had made allocations and some appropriations to some African states to buy these vaccines from their depots if they fail to get in contact with these Russian governments and what have you. The government of Ghana under this Health Minister and President Akufo-Addo thought that it was not an alternative to them. You go out there, and other persons, people out there who had procured it and what have you, were selling these vaccines, some at $13, some at $12, some at $10. You Google and you find them. The government of Ghana under President Akufo-Addo thought that it wasn't an alternative enough to them. They rather thought that buying these vaccines from Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk, or he has a name like that, Dalmon or whatever, Sheikh Ahmed, at $19 per vaccine was the best alternative.
Are you considering the fact that at the time when this deal was brokered, for example, the countries that we were hopeful of getting them from, per the reports that we have, were refusing to give out vaccines, for example, in India, because they themselves were taking a second hit and they couldn't afford to give out what they have not been able to consume in totality?
At the time, we were buying these vaccines at $19 per vaccine from Sheikh Ahmed. Egypt was buying these vaccines at $10 from Russia. There's another country, Algeria was also buying at that same time. And so what stopped the government of Ghana? I sat on this platform and I made clear emphasis to the fact that something was outrightly wrong with the purchase of these vaccines. We're talking about, not less than $20 million going into these purchases. And today, I think that the Ghanaian people clearly, my brother sitting here has not in any way said that what was done was wrong. He said the minister admitted.
And that is something, is it not?
The fact that you go to court and admit that you have stolen someone's good does not stop you from prosecution.
He did not steal.
I'm only citing an example. The fact that you go to court and admit that you had stolen someone's good does not stop you from prosecution. In fact, if you admit, we've had people admitting more crimes in this country than this. And yet they still, stood the harsh natures of these laws. And so I'm saying that from the onset, we said clearly that everything was wrong with the purchase of these vaccines. There was no due diligence, there were procurement breaches, and indeed, there were attempts, to shortchange the taxpayer of this country. Well, and it's been clear now.
So at the table,
considering the price,
at the table, the minister mentioned that there's an EI that's been passed, approved by Parliament. There's a section in it which he thought, he could go by so that he would run the deal and then come back to Parliament to get cover for it because it is done within those corners and those contexts.
So the first question is, did he come back to Parliament?
Well, that is an admission he has made. That
so clearly,
so he got that bit.
He breached
on point.
He breached these laws before and after the procurement. Now, let me also remind you that when COVID first, hit this country, there was a rapid credit facility from IMF,
right?
1 billion. It was fast-tracked in Parliament. In fact, there were a lot of breaches to it and what have you. But our MPs thought that look, it was a pandemic, absolutely, and so they needed to rush it through. Again, there were loans. There was a $130 million US dollar loan from the World Bank again. It was fast-tracked. And our MPs thought that, look, we could do this quickly because we needed money to, safeguard the situation and fight the pandemic. And so what stopped them from taking this same vaccine. Again, one critical point is the person you transacted business with. This man, Sheikh Ahmed, had been standing trials for money laundering. In fact, in the reports of the Norwegian, newspaper, they stated clearly that when they were called to even account for these, for the sale of these drugs to the government of Ghana, they declined and said they preferred leaving it in secrecy. If indeed what you had done, the transaction you had, engaged in, was so fair and was so good enough, why would you tend to?
Are you suggesting to me that, for example, if I am said to be a thief, or if Dennis is said to be a thief, and you are struggling for breath, and Dennis has oxygen or water and he offers it to you, you won't take it?
I would take it if there is due diligence.
You take the water,
and look,
due diligence while the water is there for you to take to save your life.
Johnny, if in this situation, it's not only Dennis who had that water to be given.
Okay.
There were alternatives. I have stated other alternatives that the government of Ghana could engage in at a lower price and at a lesser rate.
Okay.
And so the scenario you have given now is where Dennis alone has access to that water to save my life. But in this scenario, the vaccines were not only available to Sheikh Ahmed. I have stated that the African Union had these vaccines and had bought them at $9.75 per vaccine. I have also stated that at a point in time where we thought, the government of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo and the health minister thought that we should purchase the vaccine at $19. People were purchasing it online at $13. And so why? Why couldn't we have also engaged in such alternatives? Why couldn't we have also resorted to the African Union's allocation to African countries?
So for you, the man's honesty means nothing
like
to
Egypt
you.
thought and Algeria thought. And so clearly, look, this is a health minister who has admitted that he's confused and even getting more confused per second. This is a health minister who has stated that he wasn't thinking right and did not even know what had happened.
Not on the deal, procedure.
If you talk about procedure, it's procedure that led to the deal. And so if you're not thinking right on the procedure that led to the deal, you think we should forgive you and think that it was on procedure and not our amounts of money. If I don't think right, let me land on this point. If I don't think right and I count, 100,000 Ghana cedis and go to buy a car that should have cost, less than 20,000. And you asked me and I said I wasn't thinking right when I was cashing the money. But when I got to the vehicle, I started thinking right. You think we should forgive you for that? That's absurd and preposterous.
Okay. Cookie tea is ready.
Yes. Let me get into some messages this
Here we
morning.
go.
This one says, good morning to you, Johnny, and to your panelists. A quick one. Can't representatives of the political parties, for once, not cover issues affecting the nation with political colors? Between Ghana and their parties, which is their priority? Thank you. David from Alaju sent in that one. And whether issues concerning the Sputnik V vaccines probe in Parliament, please help me clear my ignorance. What are our own scientists and medical practitioners doing in quest for vaccines for our health as COVID-19 is concerned? Greetings, Johnny. The least said about our health minister, the better, and I would not fault him that much. What else do we expect when we put square pegs in round holes? I am a Ghana Health Service staff, and I had my first jab on 25th March 2021. As of now, 22nd July 2021, all efforts to get the second jab has proved futile. I really wish I had not taken the first dose. We are just living on hope, whereas others are finding several ways to steal from the innocent and poor even in these times. Phil sent in that one. Now, Elias from Tamale says, I can predict that if the health minister was to wait for parliamentary approval, considering the exigency of the time, some Ghanaians would have tagged the government as insensitive, waiting on parliament whilst lives were awash. Anyone in his shoes would have opted for his kind of option. You can always find parliament to give approval, but you can't bring dead persons back into life. Greetings to Gabby and the Agric Minister. Good morning, Johnny. Anybody who tries to defend the health minister has cassava dough in his head and not his brains.
That's not fair.
Eric from Hohoi sent that one. Now, good morning, Johnny, and your panelists, especially Malik Basintale. I keep saying hypocrisy and double standard is the bane of this country. Some people go to jail because they ignored procurement processes. This current Minister of Health must be sacked, period. Kwesi from Sugakope sent in that that one. And the last one says, Johnny, TV3 is the most credible television station in Ghana with clean and fearless journalism in the media dispensation. We are very provoked as Ghanaians. MPP doesn't know they aren't being honest with us. They promised we Napkans jobs before elections, yet they haven't given anyone anything. They continue to say they have created 1 million jobs. Hey, God is watching us. Hega, Dompre, Dichemso sent in that one.
He said he's a napkin.
Yeah.
People create names. So, Koko, play the video for me. This is the Health Minister, Oro Kwekwaji Menu, who's also the Member of Parliament for the Doma Central constituency, before a bipartisan committee in Parliament. An excerpt of what Aman Komla Kluchi had brought to us from Parliament, and then I'm sure we can shut down.
Before you entered into this contract?
No, please.
You did not.
Do you appreciate the fact that the pronouncement by the Supreme Court vis-a-vis the constitutional provision clearly talks about prior approval? You appreciate that?
Honorable Chair, very much so. But my frustrations to try to get a vaccine for us at the heat of our second wave, I relied on the Executive Instrument 61 that was passed by Parliament to hide behind emergency clauses that have been invoked, to try to see if I could do that and come to Parliament to inform Parliament that this is what I've done, and therefore need regularization. I need approval to cover it, because we were in dire need of the vaccine, and I had the onus to try to procure the vaccines to vaccinate Ghanaians to protect our lives. Honorable Chair, I must be very honest with you. At the time, I have mentioned my frustration was the fact that I seriously made that error, and on hindsight, it won't happen any longer.
You are aware of how we deal with emergency situations in Parliament. We have conventions and rules and regulations governing how you deal with emergency issues, i.e. appearing before the relevant committee and make a case so that the issue can be dealt with as an emergency issue. Why didn't you take advantage of that procedure?
That those were not normal times, and I was seriously in the situation that couldn't make me think properly, the way you think that now I will actually address myself to the situation.
Mr. Minister, are you aware that we have dealt with issues and motions on the same day before on the floor of the House, in this House? And let me give you examples. You remember the 1.2 billion and the $100 million from the World Bank? We dealt with it the same day. Couldn't you have done that?
I could have done that, but the circumstances at the time was a little bit different.
You have laid evidence before this committee that you used your best efforts to get diplomatic channels to enable you reach the manufacturer or the Russian authority directly. Is that correct?
Yes.
You even did so by producing letters as evidence of such correspondence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You further indicated that it was after all those best endeavors have proved futile before you dealt with the Sheikh. Is that correct?
That might not be correct. I dealt with the Sheikh before the frantic efforts to try to get the vaccines from the right source.
So, were you being untruthful to this committee when you indicated that you used your best efforts to get direct access to the manufacturer and the Russian authorities before you dealt with the Sheikh?
I can't remember I have said this. Anyway, what I said was that I made efforts, but I didn't just oppose the timing of the efforts that I made.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minister, did Cabinet approve this particular transaction?
No, Honorable Chair.
Cabinet didn't approve this transaction. Okay.
They can't run the board.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Minister, are you aware that WHO has warned countries not to deal with any other company or companies except the manufacturer or government-to-government basis, or else those countries risk getting substandard vaccines? Are you aware?
I'm not aware of this instruction.
That's the Minister for Health, Kwajima Menu, who is also the MP for Doma Central there before the committee. The committee sits today as well. And, well, enough said. I don't want us to start preempting the conclusion. Nobody will have it. No. You landed. Everybody landed. 15 minutes. Let's go back to Parliament. So Kenneth Oriata says he cannot answer for the presidential travels, the cost of it. Honorable Samuel Kujetwa Black, Member of Parliament for the North Tongue constituency, had raised questions about the president's travels in May, costing us about 2.8 billion Ghana cedis, and he had asked questions about it. Yesterday, the finance minister said, who was billed to appear before on the 17th of June, but had asked for more time, said he cannot answer for it, but it is the job of the National Security Minister to respond to it, because they make quarterly disbursements to some departmental heads, including the Office of the Chief of Staff, and the National Security Minister and the Chief of Staff collaborate to ensure that these travels are catered for. Then his question on the minds of Ghanaians is that if the Finance Minister knew that he didn't have the answers and that somebody else did, why did he ask for more time when he was due to answer this question on the 17th of June?
So, Johnny, I mean, after watching the video, it's clear that when we try to set headlines, we should look at the context. You realize
that read
Honorable
beyond headline, read the story. You are an intellectual. Read the story. When you see a headline, you read the story.
I am speaking to intellectuals.
When you read the headline, you read the story.
Honorable Mika Akando asked a specific question on procedure, and that was what he was responding to. It's very important.
I am saying that when you read a headline, read the story.
So you are saying that those who see the headline and leave it are the ones who will be misled.
When you read the headline, read the story.
I am glad that at least there's some misleading in there.
When you read the headline, read the story.
My point is made.
The man said,
now to the finance minister. My point is made. Now to the finance minister. I believe that the finance minister is right with his response. Clearly, if you release funds to the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education, in addition to all their responsibilities, would be buying school desks, would be buying blackboards, would be buying chalks and what have you. And so if you go back to the Minister of Finance to ask him to tell you how much he paid for the procurement of desks, it would be very difficult for him to give you the figure. I think what the Minister of Finance has basically said is that they don't run the day-to-day operations when it comes to
But why did he ask for more time if you do this?
Well, that's I cannot answer to that. But
because he was supposed to appear on the 17th.
I think the Honourable Member of Parliament should have known, ought to have known, when he was raising the question in Parliament, that he was placing the question at the wrong door. He's a Member of Parliament. He's been there for a long while.
And the Finance Minister didn't know that when he was asking for more time, he didn't have the answers?
Well, the Finance Minister has come back to answer. But he ought to have known that the right ministry was not the finance ministry.
I hear you.
So I think
take a bite on this one.
I'm surprised.
The finance minister is asking you to file another question to
the right. He's very dishonest. Very, very dishonest.
Why are you saying that?
This was a question filed under a certificate of agency. You're supposed to respond within 7 days. You came to Parliament, about 2 weeks after, to tell us to give you more time and more time, only for you to appear, just yesterday, and tell us to refer our question to the, for crying out loud. Johnny, he's the finance minister. But my brother does not know how these procedures.
I don't know. I don't know. You know this better than me.
I'm surprised that you don't know this. You don't know this.
It is wrong.
No, the finance minister cannot respond to that. Johnny, my worry is that
you are ignorant of it.
I beg your pardon. 15,000
you are ignorant of the issue.
Have been paid for the president per hour, summing up to 2.8 million just to go and bath in the sky. The Ghanaian people are worried. People are still attending schools under trees. People cannot afford 3 square meals a day. People want their salaries, improved, and the government is telling them to raise up. Only for the man,
we have to go.
Man to go.
We have to go.
Every Ghanaian doesn't think.
Grateful to you.
I'm surprised that my brother
assumption is that every Ghanaian
is
is the Savannah Regional Communication Officer of the NDC, and also Dennis Miracles Abuaji is a former MCE for the Ekwapim North Municipal Assembly. Your microphones are off. Allow me to do this, gentlemen. Gentlemen, please allow me. Sorry, allow me. Gentlemen, please allow me. Okay, so John sends this one. It says, okay, let me go to Ambassador Sampiyale. It says, there is no doubt that the new IGP is one of the finest and best within the Ghana Police Service. The general public acclamation and consensus of acceptance following his appointment is clear indication that Ghanaians indeed want a refreshing change in the police service. My expectations are that 1, he should know that Ghana Police Service is a service and not a force against the citizens. Therefore, his strategy should reflect that of services to the state and not a force against the people. 2, that he has been appointed at a time the image has sunk so low, and there's a considerable amount of mistrust on the numerous human rights abuses. 3, that the police are enjoined to respect the human rights provisions in the Constitution. We're looking forward to a refreshing Ghana Police Service. However, the problem is whether or not the Ghana Police Council and politicians will give him free hand to operate as professionals. John says, Johnny, kindly inform the MPP rep in your studio that people have been jailed in this country for breaching simple procurement procedures. The least the minister should resign if he has any credibility left in him. And he says, please school the gentleman, no matter the headline, read the story. The minister cannot be the thing right because he has corrupt motive in the whole process of procuring the vaccine. As a chartered accountant, there is no way he can forget about procurement procedures. Only corrupt motive can cloud your thinking that can result from his actions. How many days could he have taken to get cabinet approval under the Financial Management Act? He can only forgive him if he was able to get us the vaccine for Ghanaians under the situation he claimed. The procedure to get the vaccine cannot be distinguished from the vaccine. Johnny, the process of getting the vaccine is as good as the vaccine. This is from Abobi Bismarck in the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. Is the chairman. And thank you to Sonar Fashions for my outfit today. Call them on 0246 650 0162. Again, 0246 590 162. We'll see you after the break. There's more here on Newday that you don't want to miss. Johnny is back, and we are here to stay. We'll see you after the break.